I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it. My name is Paul. You found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality where we are building a liberty machine. Telephone number 870-275-9799 if you would like to contribute to the program. That's 870-275-9799. Still no mainstream media outlets, or new ones, besides the initial KATV report, which was November the 7th is when it actually ran. And then it was posted on the KATV
Governor Hutchinson
Facebook page, posted there on the 8th. It says right here, is the governor of Arkansas's son benefiting from his father's position? And, what was interesting here is I found it really interesting, the comments section of the Facebook page. You know what I mean? Really interesting, because this thing has like 44 comments, 5 shares. Somebody put a link to the Conduit for Action article in the comments, Biden in the Ukraine, Asa in China. And a lot of people are pretty upset about this. You'd think there'd be a follow-up. Somebody linked to an old KATV story. The son of Arkansas governor arrested, 3rd DWI in Rogers. And a lot of people, somebody named Randall says he should resign. Just kind of looking over some of these Facebook comments, it just is really frustrating that we still have nothing. Looked in the Arkansas Democrat Gazette or on the website, Arkansas Online, still nothing. I haven't seen any new posts about this over at the Arkansas Times. I haven't checked John Brummett's yet. Hang on one second. I forgot to do that. I have been actually running around like a crazy person this morning. And the reason for that is I got some interesting audio that was sent to me. There was a town hall event of Senator John Cooper 2 nights ago. So when I was at the Cleburne County Stars and Stripes dinner in Heber Springs and listening to Lieutenant Governor give that great speech we played yesterday on the party platform and what it means to be a Republican and how you should do what you say you're going to do. At that same time, Senator John Cooper, who is famous for not doing what he told voters he would do, he was giving a town hall, and I've listened to what he said, and it's, I don't know if fascinating is the right word, but it certainly is interesting. It's certainly interesting. John, there's a section of that audio that I have, and we'll play it for you, where John believes that the reason there are state representatives in the Northeast Arkansas area who have voted to remain consistent with their principles, whether it's on big government or specifically if it's on being opposed to Medicaid expansion because we can't afford it. By the way, we can't. That's why they raised our taxes this year, $70 million in fiscal year 2020. And it stands to go up even more if we vote for that half-cent sales tax to not expire. The reason they raised your taxes is because of Medicaid expansion, and this is something that we've predicted for a very long time. But what I have realized by listening to this clip of Senator John Cooper is it really bothers him that a lot of these state representatives, Dan Sullivan included, but Brant Smith, Dwight Tosh, Jack Ladyman, and others, have consistently voted to do what they said the voters would do. And I'm not saying, with the Arkansas Works thing, that's kind of is here, but there were, a couple of years ago where, the funding was in question. We had people trying to stop it still. They were still actively fighting the good fight, doing what they told voters they would do. And John Cooper wasn't. And because they represent the same area, apparently this has really rubbed him the wrong way. And the way he's explained it is he's blaming it on talk radio and Conduit. He mentioned Conduit by name and said that the real reason these guys decided not to vote with their senator overlord is because they're afraid of me. And nothing could be further from the truth. They were voting that way, John, because they actually told the people they would vote that way, and then they got down there and they actually did it. I mean, it's just so funny to me. In the minds of politicians, you just never know what's possible. So here is the latest piece by John Brummett is about Joyce Elliott and her running for Congress. Senator Joyce Elliott, Democrat, running for Congress against French Hill. Okay, so still nothing about Asa Hutchinson III and the governor's law firm receiving money from Chinese communist clients, the same Chinese communist clients that are coming to Arkansas or are here in Arkansas receiving taxpayer funds that's been awarded by the governor. Hey, quick update on that, because I was quick update on that. If you go to the governor's LinkedIn page, the Asa Hutchinson law firm, if you go to that page real quick, Joe, because I saw this in the KATV report. There's a thing on there that says 5 employees. Have you seen this? See, KATV put this up as a graphic in their initial report that aired on television 6 or 7 days ago. Where does it say? Okay, so it says see all 5 employees. See there on the right side of the screen, folks? All right, so let's click see all 5 employees of the Asa Hutchinson Law Group. And he on LinkedIn, Governor Asa Hutchinson is listed as an employee of the law firm. So is Asa still counsel to the law firm receiving money from Chinese communist entities disguised as companies? And he's the governor? And see, the KATV report didn't even ask this question. They didn't say because they keep because Asa the Third is the managing partner right now, and that's just assumed. It's assumed that the governor doesn't work there because how in the world would he be so brazen to do that? Why wouldn't he take his name off? Unless this is about an international law firm, which is the law firm itself describes itself as an international law firm. And the fact that he is the governor and a part of this group means that they are more attractive to international clients, because America is the greatest market in the world and everybody wants in on it. And they know that political power is not a bad thing if you're trying to get something done. I also want to say this, Joe. You remember what I have said for weeks when we've been talking about China. And I've been saying this for about 2 months, I feel like. And the reason I said this is because this is how it was explained to me. In every instance, when the Chinese want to exploit a country, or in this case, the state of Arkansas, But when they go into South America, when they go into Cuba, when they go, and I've said this a million times, when they go into Mozambique, they go into these places, before they do anything official, they grease the skids. Okay, they take the politicians and they make sure that they are happy. Okay, and the way they do this in these third world countries is they just bribe them. I mean, you know what I mean? Think Iran, pallets of cash type stuff. That's what they do. And then they come in and they make the leadership happy, they make the dictators happy, and then the Chinese have access to the mineral rights or whatever they're going to do. In Africa, they do this all the time. Okay. So why would we think, and this has been my question for months now, why would we think they would treat Arkansas any different? And there's a little bit, you've got to do a little bit more hoop jumping, but how is this not the same thing? How is this not the Chinese enriching, at the very least, the governor's relative? But the Chinese here are enriching the governor's law firm, where he is listed as the top billed attorney. He's got the top billing, and he's listed as the owner here on LinkedIn. How is this not? This is not even about Asa the Third in a lot of ways. It really isn't. This is about the governor himself. That's the story here, and that's where you quickly get if you ask the right questions. Asa the Third was the spark. That was the catalyst. It was the photo where Asa the Third, because he's the guy that is, he's the guy that's actually representing TY Garments. But the photo of TY Garments, the communist Chinese executive, Asa the Third, and the governor, overseas at the TY Garments headquarters in China. Is that in the Shandong province or Shandong or whatever it's called? That is the thing that sparked all of this, because then people's like, okay, we went to the Asa Hutchinson Law Group website, and then we see all of these Chinese clients. There's also an American client. Folks, I'm telling you, I believe this will be a national story. I know that our statewide media is sitting on it, but I believe this will be a national story at some point in the future. This cannot go uninvestigated. And those of you in the state legislature, it's time for you to start to address this or ask questions. I mean, is there even, I know you guys have threads, is there even a thread that's like, have you guys seen that this is going on? And why in the world would you ever think this is okay? And I'm not suggesting that you guys do. I'm just saying, at this point, anything the governor asks you to do, in the back of your mind, any policy he pursues, in the back of your mind, you got to be thinking, well, is his son or are there relatives of his that are getting money? It's not right. It's not right. And I'm listening to Tim Griffin, Lieutenant Governor at Cleburne County, two days ago, and he has a great point. He was like, we got so many Republicans now, but what are we doing with the power? And what are we going to do to make sure voters continue to trust the Republican Party 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road? What are we doing? Now, he did not bring up Asa Hutchinson in this Chinese thing, but I'm just telling you, that's a great question. And if you want to destroy the gains that the Republican Party have made, at least in name, at least in red-colored T-shirts, then if you're a Republican, you have to take this very seriously. Because if the Democrat Party succeeds in convincing the people that it doesn't matter who you vote for because they're all the same, because they don't stand for principles, if they can convince you that the only principle that we stand for is self-enrichment, with the governor's nephew who's going to jail with the Medicaid money, Jake Files, Micah Neal, Rusty Cranford, all of these people who are part of this giant corrupt. I mean, why? This is not a very hard thing to even entertain, with all of these people who've gone to jail, and what the Arkansas Democrat Gazette described is the biggest political corruption scandal in 30 years is what they said. Where is the mainstream media on this? And I'm not going to shut up about this, because if there's any policy goal that we need to stop, if there's any policy goal, and listen, I get it. Over the last, 6 years, limited government conservatives, people who don't want the budget to grow, who don't want to spend more each year, who don't want taxes to rise, it's kind of been tough. There's been some things maybe that you could argue that are good that have happened, but in terms of the Republican Party platform, there's a lot of stuff that, take it or leave it, and there's a lot of them that have just left it. And they've gone and they've been led wherever the governor and his administration have led them. But this right here, exposing this corruption is the most American thing we as a grassroots movement can do right now. I'm telling you. This is the most American thing we can do, is to try to expose and get more eyes on this story. Now, Joe, will you pull up the KATV article real quick? Now, again, there's only one mainstream news outlet in Arkansas that has reported on this at all. And I want to stop and go here. But this is what it sounded like. This was actually broadcast on KATV a week ago today. Listen.
Travels overseas on an economic development mission. There are questions here at home about his son and a possible conflict of interest.
Stop.
At least 3.
Wow. Questions about his son and a possible conflict of interest. That's a good first report. There should have been one. There should have been one the next day and the next. I wonder if this story, whoever reported it, it's Marine. I wonder if she's gotten in any trouble for this. It's an honest question at this point. Okay, go ahead, Joe. Keep going here.
Chinese companies that receive tax incentives from the state of Arkansas have business ties to Asa Hutchinson III. Maureen Glisovic joins us now with what the governor had to say about that late today.
So, Maureen Glisovic, or Glisovic. Is it Glisovic? How did he pronounce it? I can't remember. This is, look, and they've got the photo of TY Garments here. Hit it again. Hit the play button again.
Hutchinson III, a Bentonville attorney, went on this trip to China with his father, but today the governor said his son paid his own way. The Asa Hutchinson Law Group, where the governor is listed as a founder of the firm, had a representative in China this week, Asa Hutchinson III. The clients the law firm represents includes 3 Chinese companies. All of them have received tax incentives for bringing business to Arkansas. In 2016, TY Garments, a client of Hutchinson III, was offered an annual tax rebate worth nearly $1.6 million, including a
in the political climate that we have today, how did this not start a media frenzy? How? Do you know how much the mainstream media hates Republicans? They hate us. They hate the idea of the power of faith in God, which is on the platform, lower taxes to produce economic growth. The mainstream media, they generally just can't stand the idea of self-reliance, personal responsibility. They frame everything from a victim mentality. They try to paint the right as careless, heartless individuals that want to step over homeless people. And for some reason, this story gets filed 7 days ago after Conduit News broke the story, by the way. Then the Arkansas Times writes a piece later that afternoon. And it's been a week. Nothing. It got referenced by Roby Brock. John Brumman from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette said, you know what, I should write more about this because this story does need to be looked into more. In the last 2 days, John Brumman, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, he's written about the hogs and now Joyce Elliott. How is this not a media frenzy? How? We're going to take a 1-minute break and then be back here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We have State Representative Dan Sullivan coming up in an hour, so you don't want to miss that. Back in a minute. Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
$3 million. Here's Dennis. $3 million. $3 million of our tax dollars went to the Chi-Coms. How much came back to the Hutchinson law firm in election campaigns? That's Dennis. Dennis, I appreciate your using of that famously. I'm assuming that's Rush Limbaugh. That's Rush, right? I mean, Rush is the one that came up with the Chi-Coms, right? He just calls them Chi-Coms. I mean, I don't use it because, it's like intellectual theft, But I think I have used the term drive-by media before. Man, I'm telling you, I've said this many times. If you've got a liberal friend that has an open mind, if I could do anything, if I could tell them to do anything, it'd be like, well, make them listen to 1 hour of Rush every day. The 3 hours would be better, but I'm telling you, he is still so good at, you just know that you're getting the truth that you're not getting anywhere else. What else do we have here about this situation? Yeah, I mean, ethics reform. A lot of people talking about ethics reform. And I have something else here. Yeah, as far as the national media goes, that's a good question. Do you know how weird it's going to be if the national media pick up on this story before the Arkansas Democrat Gazette reports on it? You better be, seriously, if there's any folks from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette listening, Michael Wickline, I appreciate some of the stories that Michael writes, and trying to expose. I appreciate some of the stories Doug Thompson writes. I don't always agree with it, but hey, this is America. I don't always agree with the headlines, I would write them differently, but hey, I come from a far right political perspective. I get it. But if there's anybody from the Arkansas Democrat Gazette listening to this broadcast right now, podcast, on tape delay, whatever, how weird is it going to be for you guys if the national press reports on Governor Asa Hutchinson and his son and the governor's law firm taking money from Chinese clients and also giving them taxpayer money, if the national press reports on it before the, quote, state paper? And what does the state paper mean? Right now, I feel like the state newspaper actually means that it's propaganda from the state of Arkansas.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
And I have wanted to welcome back to Arkansas Chairman Chu. Please give Chairman Chu a round of applause.
China is also applying this power in more proactive ways than ever before to exert influence and interfere in the domestic policy and politics of this country.
Chairman Chu, I got to know as he is the CEO and chairman of Shandong Ruyi Technology Group out of Shandong Province.
Over the past 17 years, China's GDP has grown 9-fold. It's become the second largest economy in the world. Much of this success was driven by American investment in China. And the Chinese Communist Party has also used an arsenal of policies inconsistent with free and fair trade, including tariffs, quotas, currency manipulation, forced technology transfer, intellectual property theft, and industrial subsidies that are handed out like candy to foreign investment.
We've been to Shandong Province a number of times since I've been governor. We've called on people, and Chairman Chu gave us the opportunity to meet with him at Ruyi, at their technology group there in Shandong, and saw his incredible facility. We asked him to visit Arkansas. He did. So Chairman Chu, we're delighted to have you here. I'm excited about signing this agreement with you, and I welcome you to Arkansas.
These policies have built Beijing's manufacturing base at the expense of its competitors, especially the United States of America.
And I wanted to recognize Chairman Lee to my right, who is the founder of Sun Paper of Shandong Province in China. I also want to recognize Secretary Ma.
On behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China, we invite you to come and visit the newest named city in Arkansas, China, Delphia. We are very pleased to own an American city. Our communist government is proud to do business with the mediocre state of Arkansas. We are happy to take your money and your trees and send the profits back home. The Communist government of China was pleased to learn the taxpayers of Arkansas are excited to contribute their money with the hope, if you build it, one day jobs will come. We are excited to take your fields of capitalism and turn them into fields of communism, where every Arkansan has nightly dreams of Mao. China is looking forward to our investment of $1 billion in what is now called Arkansas. We see this as an investment in our future, and that future will be called New Beijing. Chinese investment will make Arkansas a great place for jobs, as the People's Republic of China will succeed where the Soviets failed. As we build our roots deep in Arkansas, we are thrilled with the potential new ideas and advancement we will share with our people back home. Soon we will have the world's largest runway in the South China Sea, and we thank Arkansas for contributing to our noble cause. In closing, once we make China great again, all of you will see the glory of the revolution of Mao. And Arkansas, whatever you do, please never call the FBI.
Paul Harrell, Parody.
Exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
I hope it doesn't happen. I just want more eyes on the story. I hope it I mean, in terms of whether or not the mainstream media is going to report on Asa Hutchinson's law firm getting money from the Communist Chinese before the state newspaper does is, I don't know what's going to come first. I have a feeling that as of right now, I mean, we're 8 days into this story being, out there in the news. I got to think that, the national media is going to pick up on this before. I mean, I can tell you, I know the national media has been made aware of this. So, speaking of KATV, and them, I just do want to tell you about this. They run this story 7 days ago, and so I've got kind of I'm looking. I've got Google notifications and things like that, on Asa Hutchinson and everything else, and also KATV, just kind of really trying to monitor this story as close as I can. I want to know if somebody mentions it, I want to know about it. And DHS has now hired Channel 7 KATV's Peterson. And the State Department of Human Services, this is Max Brantley reporting this, announced today that it hired Jason Peterson, a reporter for KATV, as its first ombudsman. What is that? Ombudsman? I don't even know what that is. He goes to work for, it doesn't matter, it's a government job. He goes to work November 18th. Interesting. Let's see here. Yeah, and at some point, if this just kind of sits here and nobody does anything with it, I think we're going to have to look at maybe, is there anybody out there that wants to call the Ethics Commission on this? What would the Ethics Commission have to say? Unfortunately, people in the Ethics Commission are appointed by Governor Asa Hutchinson, so good luck with that. Folks, in other news, we're going to get back to this in a minute, but in other news, I will tell you that today is Thursday, and on Monday we told you about the Little Rock School District and the Little Rock teachers who are upset that their union is being undermined and is having power taken away from it, and so they're striking today, and they're supposed to descend later today, I think around 10 a.m. They're supposed to descend on the state Board of Education in their meeting today. So there you go. You've got the folks protesting. They're striking. I personally think the teachers should be fired for not doing their jobs because classes are going to resume as normal. Okay? This headline from Cynthia Howell, Little Rock School District teachers, staffers on strike, schools open. So the Little Rock School District teachers and support staff members, including nearly 1,800 Little Rock Education Association employees union members, will be on strike and on picket lines today, a day in which schools in the state's second largest system will be open as usual to students and non-striking workers. It will be the district's first teacher strike in 32 years and the first strike in which all campuses in the state-controlled Little Rock district will remain open to students. Today's job action follows a flurry of activity Wednesday. Teresa Knapp Gordon, president of the Employee Association, announced Monday the plan for today's one-day work stoppage, which comes on the same day as the monthly 10 a.m. meeting of the Arkansas Board of Education. So that's today. Bunch of left-wing radicals. What we're dealing with here. This is exactly... You know what? You say, oh, Paul, come on, they're not left-wing radicals. All right. Did anybody see the lieutenant governor's Twitter? It's actually his personal Twitter, not his official Twitter. Tim Griffin is at TG, the number 4, Arkansas.com. I'm sorry, at TG, the number 4, Arkansas. That's who he is on Twitter. Scroll down to the one that this tweet 10 hours ago. Let's see. No, it's further down there. We want to get to all of these tweets right here, right there. So Tim Griffin, are you a Little Rock School District parent like me who is frustrated with the Little Rock Teachers Union boss drama? Fight for school choice. School choice gives parents the option of leaving one school and choosing another based on what is best for their child, kids and parents and customers, not political pawns. What a great statement. He's exactly right. I noticed that the mayor of Little Rock has called for a moratorium on charter schools in Little Rock. That's not the right decision here, clearly. Because if you're a parent that depends on the government to educate your kids, this isn't a good day for you, is it? Here is the other tweet. Tim Griffin, quote, "My son came home from Little Rock School District today and told me he was told he didn't have to go to school tomorrow. I quickly educated him on the Little Rock Union boss's tactics and told him he would be proudly attending school tomorrow." Another tweet, Tim Griffin, just received this from a parent at a Little Rock School District middle school today, and, quote, an 11-year-old daughter's first period teacher told her class that they, the students, if they come to school tomorrow, they support racism. Whoa. Remember what I just called them left-wing radicals? This is exposing exactly who these people are. If this report is accurate, where you have a Little Rock School District middle school teacher telling the class that if you come to school tomorrow, what's the implication there? Well, you'll make us look bad because, there's not going to be anybody here to take care of you, and you're going to come to school, and I'm going to be on the picket line. If you come to school tomorrow, you support racism. Can you imagine all the kids that don't have Tim Griffin for a dad? That said, "Oh yeah, Mom, I'm not supposed to go to school tomorrow. I don't want to support racism." That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Also this, Tim Griffin tweeting, Little Rock School District middle school teacher, quote, 2 core teachers told students they would not be safe because criminals would be subbing. Also stated that there will be no security or staff to protect them.
Yes, we employ criminals in the school district. So.
It's like, oh, now kids, if you come to school tomorrow, the boogeyman will get you. Wow. Man, the intellectual, this is crazy. This is nuts. Little Rock School District middle school teachers are telling the kids, they told the kids yesterday that if they come to school today while the teachers union are on strike because they're a bunch of radicals, they tell them that there'll be criminals will be subbing for them, and there's going to be no security on staff to protect them. Also, if you come tomorrow, you're a racist. I hope the superintendent of the Little Rock School District fires every one of these teachers. Seriously, let's just start over. The school district's already in disarray. I get it. But, there was a time when Ronald Reagan had to fire the air traffic controllers. Now, granted, we had the military that could, step in and run our, the skyways and everything, but still. At some point, you have to wonder. You really have to wonder. You know, I mean, how can this continue to happen? I mean, the Little Rock School District, if you would describe it as failing, which, I mean, we had the Reform Alliance's Laurie Lee on Monday, and we were going over statistics and graduation rates and really the skills that even the folks that are graduating have trouble with the most basic concepts of arithmetic and reading and writing. I mean, if those are your statistics, I think she said 30% are graduating proficient. 30%. If those are your statistics, and you're trying to make this about you, the teachers, having power, I think we can pretty well see what the problem is here. It's the fact that, and whatever this was in the beginning, you've completely lost the core mission. You know, whatever it was, the original mission. You know, the government, because of our society, the society we want to have, we want to teach kids how to read, write. We want to teach them how to do math, so that they can one day, you know, they're better off, and then they're going to be successful. They're going to raise families. I was hearing Tucker Carlson the other day saying, why does the government do anything? Like, what is the purpose of government? Now, we know, obviously, the purpose of government is to secure our rights and keep the government itself from taking them, keep other people from taking your rights and doing things to others. But Tucker Carlson, I was listening to him the other day in a talk. He was debating Charlie Kirk, and he did a fantastic job. Actually kind of wrecked Charlie Kirk's world from Turning Point USA. Really, he did. And he said the government's job is to ensure that, you know, people get married and have babies. Now, I mean, you know, there's nothing in statute that's what it says. But, I mean, in reality, you know, you gotta have the, you gotta have more humans. You know, we're all gonna die. So this is this basic biological idea of reproducing, and it really is just a fascinating way to look at the world that nobody ever talks about anymore. Are we enacting policies that support those basic ideas of the family unit? No, we're enacting policies that are doing the complete opposite, and we have been for a very long time. And that actually goes right into education, because one of the reasons education is so bad right now is because these school districts they're buying into the liberal progressive concepts of their responsibility is to raise children instead of just teach them. And then you got broken families, and you got folks that don't respect authority, and it hurts. We're seeing the result of that right now. So, I tell you one thing, though. Joe, I don't know if I've shared this with you on the education thing. This is just me personally, right? And I'm a product of public school. I did was in public school for forever. But as a parent, and I don't know if I would be thinking like this. I've been married for 11 years. You know, we have a 2-year-old. She's 2 years, 4 months. And I actually I don't know if if we'd have had her 10 years ago or something, I would have just been starting radio. I don't know if I would have looked. I don't know if I would have been thinking the way I am now, because essentially, if you chart the way I think, I'm just getting more and more conservative as I grow older. But I am getting to a point where in raising her and seeking the wisdom of God to try to raise my child, and I am to the point where I am not going to assume anything that is just considered culturally normal is okay. Now, it may very well be fine and okay, but I am not going to just assume, well, that's the way it's always been done and it's totally fine, so that's the way I'm going to raise my child, or I'm going to expose her to this or that. And this is what I'm struggling with right now as a parent. And it's just a simple question. At what point did it become normal for a 6-year-old child to leave their parents for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week? It's just an honest question. You see what I'm doing here, right? I'm not, and listen, I know, well, that's just, it's first grade. It's just time to go to school, From 8 to 3 or 3:30 or however long they keep them now. I think we've gotten away from whatever the original mission was. Well, we need to, for our society, we got to educate our kids. We got to have some way to do it. Okay. I'm questioning everything now, though. I just am questioning everything. And I think a lot of people are doing that now. And I think a lot of people are realizing all the things that we get told from the establishment, whether it's the establishment media or the establishment in government or the establishment even in local government, if this is the way things have always been done, I think a lot of people now, it's like there's been a blockade broken, and just people are just thinking, no, I don't know. Why are we doing it this way? I know we've always done it this way, but why? And those are good questions to ask. And it brings me back to Tim Griffin's original point, which was this. If there's ever been an argument for school choice, today, the Little Rock School District Teachers Union strike is making the argument for proponents of school choice. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Back in a minute. Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Of Shandong Province.
As President Trump said just this week, in his words, we rebuilt China over the last 25 years.
Last November, as you know, I traveled to Shandong Province. I met with Chairman Lee. I toured Sun Paper Company along with Mike Preston. While in China, we signed a letter of intent on behalf of the state of Arkansas with Sun Paper, indicating that Sun Paper wanted to put a major bioproducts mill in South Arkansas, in Arkansas.
The Communist Party has set its sights on controlling 90% of the world's most advanced industries, including robotics.
Bob Maloney here from ASA News, The Parrot. Breaking news from the Capitol in Little Rock. Over now to our new on-site reporter, Susan Shenanigans. Susan?
Thanks, Bob. The governor has just announced that a Blue Ribbon Task Force is to be formed.
Today, I'm asking your support for a Blue Ribbon Legislative Task Force to be created and directed to recommend further reform.
Now we go live to the chamber to listen in for more information on the task force.
I hereby call this session into order. First on the agenda for today is the formation of the Blue Ribbon Task Force. Is there anyone who would like to give their thoughts on the task force?
Yes, as someone who's deeply conservative, why is the governor choosing the color blue for this task force? Sounds like he's really a Democrat loyalist. Why not a red ribbon to prove he's a true conservative?
Well, I represent Walmart, and we agree with the color of the task force ribbon. The color blue is best consistent with the Walmart brand.
I object to this choice. Blue is the wrong color ribbon for this task force.
Well, who are you?
I am Mr. P.C. Wrights, and I represent Target, and we want the ribbon to be red. not blue.
Hold it right there. This seems like a tough decision. Why not ask the governor to call a special session at a later date for an important decision as this?
I think this is something worth talking about. I motion that we decide the color of the ribbon today.
I second it. Fine. We can decide it now. Does anyone have any other suggestions for the color of the ribbon?
I think the color should be white.
Whoa. Hold on. Definitely not white.
I agree with Mr. PC Wrights. Maybe we should choose green for the farmers.
You like the color green because you are a farmer. I think it should be purple, so we can display how Arkansas is an extremely moderate state.
Why are we even discussing this? Shouldn't we be talking about tax reform instead of wasting time with this?
Well, the people have spoken. They believe this is worth talking about, so we are deciding this now.
Excuse me, sir, but shouldn't the color of the ribbon be rainbow to include all types of people?
Please, silence your phones.
I just received a call from Walmart HQ, and they agree with, what was your name again? My name is Fabulous. They agree with Fabulous that the color should be rainbow.
Target concurs with the decision of it being rainbow-colored ribbon.
Is there a motion to make the ribbon rainbow-colored?
I motion to make the color rainbow.
I second the motion. The motion carries because I said so.
The committee will now vote and not be on record to keep the people in the dark. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for listening to ASA News, The Parrot. Next up, there are reports of a gorilla on top of the Capitol Dome demanding massive sums of taxpayer cash. His name? Medicaid expansion.
PHP parody.
I mean, it's incredible. That's like 2 years old.
Determined to drain the swamp in Little
like
Rock,
2 years old.
it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Yeah. Okay, that was written by Joe, our board operator, producer Joe. That was written by Joe. He wrote that. And first of all, the gorilla at the end demanding massive sums of taxpayer cash. That was prophetic because, again, the reason why your taxes have gone up in fiscal year 2020, $70 million, is because of the gorilla on top of the dome, number one. Number two, Walmart and Target, but we just use Target we put that in there. But Walmart specifically, I know Target was a big thing with their bathrooms and the PC rights. I remember that. But specifically Walmart, I think it should be blue, right? That was one of the I represent Walmart. I think the color of the ribbon should be blue, right? You guys realize that Walmart is listed as a corporate client for Asa Hutchinson III and the governor's law firm as well. So we now have the governor's law firm where he is still listed as owner. He's listed as an employee or, on the LinkedIn side of things. Yeah, show it real quick. I mean, it's the first one that you see in the Asa Hutchinson Law Group. Now, listen, I went to Walmart today. This morning I went to Walmart. I like Walmart generally. Like, I like going, I like to shop at Walmart. But my goodness, I mean, do we need any more back in 2015? I mean, come on, guys. Back in 2015, the governor supported a religious freedom restoration bill. He even got a Democrat to switch his vote on a Republican-controlled committee so that they got the votes. And then it was said that Walmart didn't like it because it was perceived to be anti-LGBT, RSTLNE, would you like to buy a vowel? And all of a sudden, Asa said he wouldn't sign it, and then they hijacked Gary Stubblefield's bill, Senator Stubblefield's bill, took it over, and then redid another one that was described as a Cadillac. We had a Rolls Royce, but, instead we got a Cadillac. That was the optimistic version of what actually happened. I don't know, man. Everything's crystal clear for me. I don't know about you. Crystal clear. Economic development in the Asa Hutchinson administration apparently means enriching your own law firm. Economic development has a much more personal connotation than we thought. It gets billed as, oh, it's good for us as a state. Apparently, it's good for the people at the top of the heap. We got one more hour coming your way next. We got State Representative Dan Sullivan coming up at 7:30. Did you hear the news about Senator John Cooper and the lawsuit that Chad Neal filed against him? We got news on that. Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Biotechnology and artificial intelligence. To win the commanding heights of the 21st century economy, Beijing has directed its bureaucrats and businesses to obtain American intellectual property, the foundation of our economic leadership, by any means necessary.
Chairman Lee and I met yesterday. Chairman Lee indicated to me that Sun Paper has selected Arkadelphia in Clark County as the location of a $1 billion bioproducts mill.
Beijing now requires many American businesses to hand over their trade secrets as the cost of doing business in China. It also coordinates and sponsors the acquisition of American firms to gain ownership of their creations. Worst of all, Chinese security agencies have masterminded the wholesale theft of American technology, including cutting-edge military blueprints. And using that stolen technology, the Chinese Communist Party is turning plowshares into swords on a massive scale.
Well, thank you all for joining us via Skype from Beijing this morning. Here in Beijing, it is 10 p.m. in the evening. I've had a very successful trip to China.
China now spends as much on its military as the rest of Asia combined. And Beijing has prioritized capabilities to erode America's military advantages on land, at sea, in the air, and in space.
I've spoken at Tsinghua University here in Beijing, which was a treat for me to speak with young Chinese students about Arkansas, and also to talk about the relationship between China and the United States.
China wants nothing less than to push the United States of America from the Western Pacific and attempt to prevent us from coming to the aid of our allies. But they will fail. Beijing is also using its power like never before. Chinese ships routinely patrol around the Senkaku Islands, which are administered by Japan. And while China's leaders stood in the Rose Garden at the White House in 2015 and said that his country had, and I quote, no intention to militarize the South China Sea, today, Beijing has deployed advanced anti-ship and anti-air missiles atop an archipelago of military bases constructed on artificial islands. China's aggression was on display this week when a Chinese naval vessel came within 45 yards of the USS Decatur as it conducted freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, forcing our ship to quickly maneuver to avoid collision. Despite such reckless harassment, the United States Navy will continue to fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows and our national interests demand. We will not be intimidated, and we will not stand down.
and we'll be calling on multiple prospects in China, as well as continuing our relationship with Sun Paper in Shandong Province.
In recent years, China has taken a sharp U-turn toward control and oppression of its own people. Today, China has built an unparalleled surveillance state, and it's growing more expansive and intrusive, often with the help of U.S. technology. And when it comes
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for being with us today. Telephone number 870-275-9799. We got State Representative Dan Sullivan coming up at the bottom of this hour. We got a lot to get to this hour. We've been talking about, of course, we've been talking about the China scandal, the fact that the governor's law firm has got these Chinese clients, and still nothing from the mainstream media. Just to kind of give you a recap, I think one of the best points was made is what's it gonna take, and if the mainstream media, national media, reports on this before the state newspaper does, how's that gonna look? You know, I mean, I don't think the Arkansas Democrat Gazette cares, but it's certainly going to be interesting if that were to happen. Other people wondering if we're going to have high schools in Arkansas eventually name something like the Shandong Province High School. You never know. Maybe we will. I'm loving your comments, guys. I really, really love your comments. Here we have a little bit of news. I doubt this is going to make the front page of the Jonesboro Sun. Right? I doubt this is going to make the Jonesboro Sun. So, Senator John Cooper has been claiming that he is immune from a lawsuit that was filed against him by Chad Neal, who is a businessman. He owns a company called Tiger Corrections, and Senator John Cooper doesn't like it. You know, there's a lot of context here. The real context is that Senator John Cooper, for a while, has been upset with the conservative leanings of the Craighead County Republican Committee. And his efforts to try to stop it have not really worked. It's gotten more conservative. The committee has gotten more conservative. Well, I'm now a member. So, but that not just me. I mean, I'm talking it's gotten very conservative. And so that's what a lot of this stems from. And it also stems from the primary that happened back in 2014 and 2013, 2014. It also, or no, 2014. And then, yeah, 2014. And so, anyway, so I've been following this. Chad Neal claims that John Cooper has been using his office to personally target Chad Neal and his business dealings with the state of Arkansas. And there was a ruling yesterday that was not good for Senator Cooper. Because Senator Cooper's been claiming, I'm just doing this in my official capacities. I'm conducting oversight. I'm making sure everything's going on. Chad Neal's like, no, you're harassing me because you have a personal vendetta against me. There's a difference between using the investigative authorities of your office and having a personal vendetta. John Cooper filed a motion to dismiss the lawsuit. essentially claiming immunity because, the state's immune. And that motion was denied. The lawsuit will now move forward. And I also understand John Cooper will now have to get his own counsel. I think he has been using counsel provided by the state or the AG's office up until yesterday. I think now he's got to actually get his own lawyer. This is a release from Tiger Correction. This is a release from Chad Neal's attorneys. Joe, we'll throw this up on the screen. Chad Neal's attorneys, let's see, it says this. On November 13th, 2019, the circuit court heard defendant John Cooper's motion to dismiss plaintiffs, Tiger Commissary, and Chad Neal's complaint. The court denied the defendant's motion. Quote, plaintiffs argued and maintained that their lawsuit is to stop Cooper. Now, that's the first sentence is all you need to understand. This is the judge saying this. Plaintiffs argued and maintained that their lawsuit is to stop Cooper from acting in his individual capacity outside of his official capacity in attempting to harass, disparage their reputation, smear their standing, interfere with their business relationships and contracts, defame and publicly and purposely publish false and misleading statements about plaintiffs, and award plaintiffs damages from Cooper personally for the relief they seek in their complaint, said Smith. So, here we are. Now, this will go forward, but I wanted to cover this morning, if for no other reason. I know the Jonesboro Sun won't, and the Jonesboro Sun, now they might have. I haven't actually looked, so I suspect that they won't put it above the fold front page like they did. I think the last time this news broke, it was about the ethics complaint that was filed against Cooper. That was dismissed. The ethics complaint was dismissed, but the lawsuit moves forward nonetheless. And I'll tell you why this lawsuit moved forward is because Chad Neal's attorneys were able to present the judge with evidence. Okay, when you have emails, when you have public statements made, it was very easy to communicate that there was something personal going on here. This was more of a personal vendetta over politics and not over actual evidence that, you needed to be harassed or investigated, using your official Senate letterhead. So this is, it really goes to the grudge that John Cooper has. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a little bit more about that grudge. Here is Senator John Cooper 2 nights ago. Let's start with Cooper number 7 there, and go ahead, Joe, and skip to the proper, I've notated there where you need to skip to. Yeah. So there was a town hall, and I'm told that this town hall was very controlled. John Cooper did not want to talk about anything that was off of topic of what he wanted to discuss. Now, that didn't always happen, but there was, there were questions about, are you going to debate Dan Sullivan? And he said, that's off of topic. Anyway, let's pick up where I marked this here. Go ahead, listen.
Let's see, what was the other part of your question?
I know that you can't speak for them, but why would...
Oh, why? Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Stop. So this is he has basically gone over why Medicaid expansion is good and you can't hold up the entire DHS budget, which is really odd that he would bring this up in a town hall. He must think that he's vulnerable here because he went through his entire campaign telling people that he was against Medicaid expansion, and then he immediately did the opposite of what he told the voters he would do. And we have multiple audio clips. I do have an entire library of everything John Cooper said when he ran for office, all the promises that he made, and then he immediately went down there and did the complete opposite. I mean, it took no time at all. It was the fastest change, which leads me to believe there was actually no change at all, that there was just a thread of dishonesty and deception in order to get power throughout his entire campaign. I can conclude nothing else besides that because he changed so fast. Here is, let's pick it back up. This is John Cooper lamenting on the fact that the state representatives that represent Northeast Arkansas don't follow his lead, but instead do what they told the voters they would do. He doesn't describe it that way, though. Listen.
This goes back to deceptive messaging. You organization called Conduit, and they have been very dedicated to intimidating, I would say, legislators to vote no on this bill. And they promote it as if you're voting no on Arkansas Works. That's one reason that I wanted to demonstrate clearly that there's a lot more in this than Arkansas Works. But they're very intimidating. And they try to strong-arm people, legislators, that that they'll be talked bad about on talk radio.
Yeah, that's a lie.
This is the bill that they.
What a liar!
This is the legislation. This appropriation that they use.
What a liar!
To accuse people of being liberal.
Stop.
And I've been there.
Listen, all right, I've got a lot of relationships with a lot of state representatives and a lot of senators. I don't strong-arm people, and neither does Conduit. Like there's some threat going around where somebody's like, hey, you know, if you don't do what we want you to, we'll talk bad on you on the radio. That's a complete, total lie. And you know what? He has made that up out of thin air in order to make himself feel better because he didn't do what he told the voters he would do. He said that Medicaid expansion is a program running on square wheels and that he was going to vote to end it. On the night he was elected, we have audio of this, on the night he was elected, was this about the private option, the election? Yes, the voters, quote, yes, the voters made it about the private option, and that decision has been made. That decision is final. Or I can't remember exactly what he said. But, I mean, he said the entire election was defined over one issue, and that was Obamacare Medicaid expansion. And then he immediately did the opposite. And he's upset that the state representatives beneath him, including Dan Sullivan, who is going to be on this program here in a little bit, kept their word to the voters. Now, I know a lot's changed here. He's actually talking about, you know, the funding crisis for Arkansas Works back in 2015, 2016, and that's what he's talking about. And you know what? That ship has actually sailed because most people agree that Arkansas Works Medicaid expansion is now here to stay. They now pretty much agree that we can't. I'll give you an example. I mean, Josh Miller ran a bill to keep Medicaid expansion, but to cut Blue Cross and Blue Shield out of their lucrative fleecing of Arkansas taxpayers. It's the biggest scam ever in Arkansas history. Okay, that's incredible that one of the most conservative state representatives in Josh Miller runs a bill and actually was given an award, a Calvin Coolidge Award for a good bill. Can you imagine that Calvin Coolidge Award? The Conduit, that is, you know, regarded as the most conservative organization in the state of Arkansas, gives an award to Josh Miller for a bill to keep Medicaid expansion. I just want you to understand. I mean, and because it's a practical thing to do at this point because you've got to cut Blue Cross and Blue Shield out of the loop. But Cooper here knows he's vulnerable because the fact of the matter is, if John Cooper had done what he said he was going to do, we actually could have ended the program at that time. You could have done it. But John Cooper didn't have the intestinal fortitude to do what he said he was going to do. And he knows this. And that's why he's now giving presentations. And listen, John Cooper stood right here in this spot. I stood right here multiple times during his campaign. The organization he now claims strong arms legislators and intimidates them and all this other nonsense supported him, supported his campaign when he ran. I put a sign in my yard. I look like a complete moron. I'm gonna be honest. I look like a complete moron. I was talking to somebody the other day. I mean, tell me what sign I should wear. I would love to wear it around. I was wrong. John Cooper wasn't honest. I supported his campaign. I told you should vote for John Cooper because he's the most conservative. Whatever sign I have to wear, make a t-shirt. I'll wear it. I mean, I owe the people of Northeast Arkansas, because I've been on this station for 10 straight years. I owe you guys a massive apology. I mean, I'm not the first person that's ever been duped by a politician, but I mean, I had John Cooper on constantly. We were discussing the issues. I believed him. I put a giant sign in my yard, one of those giant signs that's meant for like an intersection, like a busy intersection. I put a giant sign in my yard, and I was telling people, go for it, you know? We need to walk away at this point. That's exactly right. We need to just walk away. Okay, we're going to take a break here. I apologize. We're going to take a break for 1 minute, and then I want to play for you one other clip. Don't go anywhere.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Comes to religious freedom, a new wave of persecution is crashing down on.
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
I appreciate it, Jackie. Jackie says, don't worry, Paul. After the many, many lies Cooper has told, why would we believe anything he said about you or Conduit? And then Gene, that's maybe the weirdest, this may be the weirdest thing I've ever heard, but Gene on Facebook, if I whisper sweet nothings in Paul Harrell's ear, will he put my campaign sign in his yard? I think I got a higher vetting standard than I used to. Let me put it that way. It certainly helps when you actually have a voting record to go by. You can see what somebody's done, which is why, well, let me just tell you this. If John Cooper wanted to come on this program, he's more than welcome to. I'd love to interview him. I don't think he will. Obviously, he thinks I'm strong. Actually, John Cooper, I mean, he's just got this, and I've tried to strong-arm John Cooper. I actually have avoided talking about John Cooper, by the way. Like, I really have. Because it does kind of get me worked up, because I seriously just have a big issue with that whole process of that whole campaign back in the day. But yeah, you know, he thinks that apparently I have some sort of way to strong. All I am doing here is I report for Conduit News. All I'm doing is telling you what is going on, what is happening. We present voting records of people. We cover what's happening in the news. And we're just trying to get the truth to the people with the hope that, hey, you've got more information. Now you can go and vote accordingly when we're talking about elections specifically here. But the Republican Party platform is very important. And I told you this the other day, that John Cooper, back on May the 28th, spoke out against a resolution of the Craighead County Republican Committee affirming the party's platform. And he compared his own party to the Soviet Empire. Let's go ahead and let's listen to the beginning of this, shall we, Joe? Let's listen to a little bit of this speech from May 28th from Senator John Cooper, in his own words.
Mm-hmm. The rules of the Republican Party, or the laws of Arkansas, or the Constitution of the United States. There are very well thought out reasons why these rules are in place. The very basic reason is that it violates the very basic principles on which this country was founded. Our committee rules state that no oath shall be permitted. the RPA requires the same. Why are these rules in place? The simple reason is that party oaths which seek to supplant the language of both the Arkansas Constitution and the Constitution of the United States of America are subversive in their very nature. Our first president cautioned against the dangers of political parties. He was the only one of our presidents that wasn't a member of one. His fear was that they would insert themselves into a higher allegiance to the political party than to the good of the country. Our Constitution of the United States begins with these words, "We the people." The government of this country and the government of each state is directly overseen by the people themselves. Through the established electoral process, the system of a representative republic is established. Our Constitution begins with these words, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America." It does not say, "We the people of Craighead County Republican Committee," or even the Republican Party of Arkansas, nor does it say the Democratic Party of Arkansas, or any other political.
All right, at this point, stop. At this point, back on May 28th, at this Craighead County Republican Committee meeting, boy, the crowd was restless. Because as I've told you previously, the Craighead County Republican Committee has gotten increasingly conservative, and they're not too happy with John Cooper either. Matter of fact, I don't even know if he's going to keep coming to the meetings or not. Who knows? So just skipping ahead here, because we want to get to this section before we run out of time, where he said, quote, they thought it so important that they began it with the fundamental structure that it is government by the people, of the people. It's not a government by a political party for a political party, and for sure not just a piece of political party that thinks itself so political holy, it deems itself so pious that it allowed itself self-appointed right to oversee all the legislative process. I don't even know why John Cooper is a member of any political party. It sounds like he thinks that they themselves are wrong. And again, this was just a platform affirming the power of faith in God. It's non-binding. It's not, there's no legal, it doesn't have any legal, it's just saying we want to encourage our legislators who serve Craighead County to support the platform of power and faith in God, reducing regulations, lower taxes to produce economic growth, not discipline, but what's the word I'm talking about? I am totally blanking on just being self-reliant, yeah, or something like that. Anyway, keep going. Go ahead, skipping ahead.
They intended for this to be a non-settled competition for as long as the country exists. As a mediator of these competing interests, they also set up a system of judicial mediation called the Supreme Court, so that none could run roughshod over others without restraint. This resolution is certainly an effort by some to exercise unconstitutional power over others.
Unconstitutional power.
No political entity or self-appointed wise men or women can say.
Point of order, please. Isn't it 3 minutes, didn't you say?
Yeah, he went over time, and they were upset about it.
Well, it's 4 minutes already.
We know best to rebalance the scales to suit themselves. In the rough political seas of our country that our country has endured, so far the people through their elections have righted the ship. In our free country, we are different from third world countries in which political entities regularly intervene between the people and those who make the laws and thereby dictate what the people have to live by. That was indeed the system devised for governing the old Soviet Empire. The Politburo was the political entity that instructed the lawmakers to do what they wanted. That is exactly the same system that this resolution seeks to institute.
Stop.
So
there you go. There you go. That's Senator John Cooper back on May 28th. I know the audio gets a little garbled there, but he's saying that was the system devised by the governing of the old Soviet empire. That is exactly the same system that this resolution seeks to institute. He claimed falsely, he'll say anything, he claimed falsely that a resolution, non-binding, just encouraging, just a declaration that, hey, the committee would like for you guys to affirm, to actually vote based on what the platform is. He claimed it was unconstitutional and it was supporting the Soviet empire's idea of government.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
Chinese Christians, Buddhists, and Muslims. Last month, Beijing shut down one of China's largest underground churches. Across the country, authorities are tearing down crosses, burning Bibles, and imprisoning believers. And Beijing has now reached a deal with the Vatican that gives the avowedly atheist Communist Party a direct role in appointing Catholic bishops. For China's Christians, these are desperate times.
So, do you like him as a candidate?
I think he's brought a lot to the table. It's not my message. I worry about the party in terms of expanding our base and what the message does to our recruitment of Hispanics, outreach to minorities. And so you've got to worry about the fall election and whether this is a message that's going to carry in Michigan, Ohio, and Florida, and those states that we need to carry.
The American people deserve to know. In response to the strong stand that President Trump has taken, Beijing is pursuing a comprehensive and coordinated campaign to undermine support for the president, our agenda, and our nation's most cherished ideals.
I think you've got to listen to what he says and how he conducts himself, and I don't know that he would be that different from what he is now in negotiating with Vladimir Putin. So,
you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I don't think it's a good thing. We need people who, in the presidency, that understand how the world works, understands that there's a time for bluster and there's a time for reason.
The Chinese Communist Party is rewarding or coercing American businesses, movie studios, universities, think tanks, scholars, journalists, and local, state, and federal officials.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
So it is official, ladies and gentlemen. We have filing ended 2 days ago. We've been talking to candidates since they filed, and we really appreciate, first of all, you being with us. And we have back with us, we always appreciate State Representative Dan Sullivan is back with us. Dan, how are you, sir?
I'm wonderful, Paul, and glad to be here.
Absolutely.
Our campaign kicked off full steam the other day after filing, and we're working hard and visiting with people and talking about these issues.
Yeah. So what can you tell us a little bit about, let's just address the elephant in the room. So we've got audio, Senator John Cooper, not only back on May 28th, opposing the resolution to support the party platform and comparing it to the Soviet empire, which is strange. But we have a town hall a couple of days ago, and we got a way in there to record it. There were people, I think there were supporters of you in the audience that were wanting to ask him questions.
I think we outnumbered his supporters.
Yeah, that's what I heard. But there was a few things said in that, and John Cooper seemed to be explaining. He didn't say this, but he seemed to be explaining why he didn't do what he said he was going to do, and how you need to understand the full context of different bills and stuff.
Yeah, that's his biggest problem. We do understand. Everybody understands what he did. John, I've asked John to debate for 3 debates, and John has not even responded. And I hope your listeners will understand how important it is, not just here locally in Jonesboro, but around the state for our senators to have a debate so that people around the state can understand what the positions are, because our positions, the things that we vote on, impact everybody around the state. Mm-hmm. For example, when John killed the Stand Your Ground bill, that impacted every citizen in the state of Arkansas. Mm-hmm. It's not just a local issue. So,
and that's an anti-Second Amendment stance, and he's supposed to be a Republican.
Absolutely. And, you can just walk down the platform and see the issues that John has reneged on and gone the other way. And I'm really curious as to why John doesn't debate. I've listened to the clips of his talk, listened to some of that, and he sounds very confident and trying to convince the people in the audience that he's right. Well, if that's true, then you would think he'd be very anxious to sit down and debate with me and just explain his positions, and that obviously the people would go, yeah, John, you're the man. But again, refusing to debate kind of makes his position look very weak, and I think the people deserve that.
We're talking with State Representative Dan Sullivan. He's challenging Senator John Cooper in a Republican primary. The vote will be March the 3rd, and it's just you two. There were rumors that there might be a third join, but the filing's over, so it's only a 2-person race.
Yes, head to head, and some of the points that John makes in his talks, not only are they just the opposite of what our party platform says. Matter of fact, many of his points he's making and voting for are on the Democrat platform. John voted for 7, which was every tax increase coming forward. You only had 2 Democrats that did that. There were 6 Democrats that had a better voting record on voting against tax increases than John did.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just incredible that you have Democrats with better voting records on opposing taxes, growing government, limited government.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you have only 2 were up there with John. Wow. So John is promoting growing government. He's promoting bigger government. He's promoting letting people keep less of their money. Paul, one of the things that we fight here locally, and I think it's true statewide, that our cities do need more revenue. I would agree with that. But the answer is not raising taxes. The answer is that, and it's very easy, just to redirect money going to the state back to the cities. We are one of the most centralized spending states in the nation. We send our money to Little Rock sends it back to us. I've got an idea for letting revenue grow. Let us keep our own money here locally.
Yeah.
Wherever that is, Jonesboro, South Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, let cities keep more of their own money instead of sending it all to Little Rock. We don't have to fight over reduced taxes. We can keep the taxes the same. Just let that money stay locally and let the local people make that decision.
That's a great point. Go ahead.
And another point, John, on this DACA issue and immigration issue, John has voted to let DACA students qualify.
There was a DACA bill in the last session. I remember that. There was a DACA bill, and he voted on the pro-illegal immigration side.
Yes, to let DACA students have in-state tuition at our universities. And while that sounds very generous and compassionate, it doesn't resolve the issues that need to be resolved at the federal level.
Yeah.
And as long as we keep making these minor changes and allowing these little things to happen, it doesn't force our officials at the national level to make the changes. And it puts the DACA kids at the front of the line against United States citizens.
Yeah.
And it's just not the right thing.
Exactly right. Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Have I ever strong-armed you? I mean, here's the thing. I think you've got a great voting record, Dan, but we've disagreed on things. Remember when we disagreed on the term limits thing? Remember that?
Sure.
I guess, have I ever strong-armed you? You know, because that's what he says. He says that I'm strong-arming, or Conduit strong-arms legislators, and that you're afraid that you might be talked bad about.
Well, you know, I think it speaks more of the person being strong-armed. You know, you're not going to do that to me.
Right,
It's not within your power to force me to do something.
Yes.
You know, I'm not going to be persuaded outside of what my not only founding principles are, but our sustaining principles. You know, Paul, we talk a lot about a country founded on these principles, founded on that principle. Matter of fact, our first 10 amendments.
Yeah.
Those are not just founding principles. Those are sustaining principles. And when we lose sight of those, then our nation is going to go the wrong way. You know, I know you have a clip to play in a second, but
I want to play it.
yeah, but I was down in Little Rock, and one of the leaders of our education, I think the administrators lobby, was talking about how our schools need more mental health staff. They need more safety staff. They need more of all these teaching kids morals. Well, you know what? When we take God out of our schools, and we had the transgender issue here in Jonesboro, when we take God out of our schools, then we are, how can we be surprised when these issues of mental health and behavior become big issues?
Yeah.
We quit teaching the foundational principle and sustaining principle that we are created in God's image. And when we lose that, those problems are naturally going to happen.
So I'm glad you mentioned that teaching, because there was a bill that was it defeated, or did it become law?
It passed.
Okay,
Yes, John
it
was,
passed. But John was against a bill that would have created a Bible class that was an elective only. That the kids wanted to be able to study the Bible in an elective setting, and put the Bible back in school, really. And and they were going to study it from a historical standpoint, which if you know anything about theology, just opening the book is a good thing. And John voted against that. There was one question that went off topic 2 nights ago. Joe, do you have this queued up? One question that went off topic, and I want to play that for us right now. This is John Cooper responding to why he voted against putting the Bible as a class, studying the Bible into school as an elective. It wouldn't force anybody to do anything. It would just be an option for students. Listen to this.
I'm just curious why you voted against a voluntary Bible class in school, and you're an elder in the church.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that's off topic, but I'm going to answer it. I presume that you don't know very much about church history. Or it would be pretty evident why I did. This country was founded on religious freedom. People came to this country to get away from persecution.
What?
That was one of the factors that drove people to this country. And if you look at what happened during the Dark Ages and some of the other things that's going on in the world today over religion, do you want somebody teaching children religiously in school that has no interest in spiritual matters? I don't. And I think that's just a no-brainer, that we do not want to put government in charge of religion.
Okay.
You look all over this world,
hang on, keep
and
going.
a lot of the bloody battles and wars
Stop digging, John.
occur over religion. And the last thing that we want to do is set up a system of government in this state where we put government in charge of religion.
Stop. Stop. That's why I voted against it. Dan, respond to that. Just go ahead.
That statement ought to disqualify one for running in the state of Arkansas. You know, to blame the wars around the nation, around the world, on Christ and on God is a principle that I can't stand by. You know, not only Benjamin Rush, and you're familiar with Benjamin Rush,
one of the best founding fathers.
Founding and sustaining fathers. I'm going to help you change your language. Founding and sustaining fathers was about teaching the Bible in school. This is an elective. and it's where John and I really diverge. When you hear of all the problems in our schools and in our nation, God is not the cause of those. God is the solution to those. And when we say that we're going to eliminate God and go down, who was the lady that kicked the Bible out of school originally? And prayer out of school. You know, John's walking right down that path. And that is the solution to what we do, not the cause of what's happening.
And he's also just factually wrong about the bill itself, because the bill wouldn't have put government in charge of religion.
Yeah.
It would just, it's like the same thing as putting the 10 Commandments on the Capitol grounds. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, John did not, in 2017, we had putting "In God We Trust" signs in there. And my wife and I bought.
In every school classroom.
Every school classroom. And John did not vote on that bill. He didn't vote yes, he didn't vote no. But you and I both know that sitting on the sidelines is a no vote.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that bill passed. And we now have "In God We Trust" signs all over the state, and my wife and I bought several hundred at our own expense to put those in schools.
Well,
and that's that's the answer, not the cause of the problems. And if John
I agree.
Is saying that God is the cause and religion is the cause, you know, it's not about religion. You know, our one of our sustaining principles, and people that watched our nation grow, and many people have said it in many ways, that our form of government is only good for a moral and religious people.
Yeah.
And we have wiped that out of schools.
We have completely wiped out of schools. And even one of the least religious founding fathers, not Benjamin Rush, but Benjamin Franklin, if you go read his writings, he says the instruction of this idea that when we die, that we are accountable to a power higher than ourselves, is tantamount to instilling a moral compass and having a decent people, understanding that there is good and there is evil, and we get that moral compass from the reflection of a perfect, holy God.
Yeah, and you know, another thing people need to really be concerned about, when John says that's not on the agenda and I don't want to talk about it, you know, that should tell voters, this is not somebody that I want to be my representative if he's going to limit the questions I can ask him. I can't ask him about the Bible. I can't ask about guns in schools. I can't ask why he supported every tax increase down the line. I'm not allowed to ask him those questions. It's why he doesn't want to debate. And again, those ought to be disqualifiers for anybody. However, that's up to the voter.
Yeah.
The voter's got to hear people say, well, I'm not talking about that. And you can't ask about that. And if that's John's position, it's a very arrogant, powerful position, power-hungry position.
There was, there was a moderator there, and this woman, clearly at the onset of the meeting, set up the rules that we're only going to talk about. He's only going to answer questions based on what is on this, and that. You're right. That is troublesome, considering he's an elected a leader. He holds power, and he's wanting to kind of control. He's
absolute control.
Absolute control over what people can ask him.
That's what big government does, Paul. You know, and John ran originally saying he was a small government, power back to the people. Give the people, let the people keep their money. They know best. And now John is running from a very powerful position. He's going to control the meeting. He's going to control the questions. He's going to tell you what you can and can't ask.
Yeah.
Who wants to be represented by someone like that?
Yeah. That's a good question, and that's why you're running, because right now John Cooper is your senator, and you think you can do a better job.
Absolutely, and I think, again, the people deserve that opportunity. I think John's wrong on immigration. I think he is wrong. Another point to bring up, when you look at what John's positions are, I don't think John supports President Trump. I've never heard Senator Cooper come out saying, I support what Senator Cooper or what President Trump is doing. When you look at the China factor in Arkansas now, you've never heard John say, I support the president in tariffs, in these issues. You know, John promotes himself as being one that the chamber, he got 100% vote with the chamber. Well, locally, the chamber here supported a big tax increase recently.
Yeah.
That the people defeated.
Well, and the chamber's not supportive of
the
the president.
No,
they're not at all.
No, tariffs, the China trade, the immigration. The chamber is, pro letting people come across the border with very limited restrictions. So when one says, I'm 100% with the chamber, well, I got an award from the chamber.
Yeah.
I didn't get 100% of the things, but that's fine. I don't agree with them on everything. There are things the chamber has a good position in economic development, particularly locally. We've done some good things, but I'm not 100% Chamber of Commerce guy. And I'm proud that there are things that I disagree with them on. I'm proud there are things I disagree with the state government on. I don't represent the government back to the people. The power is in the people, not in the government.
Amen.
And when the people elect us and the people send us to Little Rock, they send us there to represent their ideas. John was elected on that. The Republicans got behind John when he ran, and they said, John, go to Little Rock and represent us. John flipped, and John decided to represent the government back to the people.
Yeah.
The only nation in the world that I'm aware of, to the extent that we do, where the people tell the government what to do.
Yeah.
And John's very statement of, you can only ask this question, you can only ask that question, says that he is more powerful than the people he represents.
When John Cooper won and flipped this Senate seat back in 2014 from blue to red, I went to the victory party. And
I remember you doing that.
And this is weird. But I had never met Jeremy Hutchinson. But he was there, and I was like, "Why is Jeremy Hutchinson here?" And it's the first time I ever met him, and I think the only time I ever met him. But that's kind of when I was like, wow. You talk about the Republicans back. I mean, the full establishment was back, and then it just becomes a matter of, okay, who are you going to be listening to?
Yeah. Do you see those guys up here in Owl Farm?
No.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Who you do see. You see several Democrats supporting him.
They've been indicted.
Yes, well, Senator Chesterfield, who's a friend of mine and an honorable lady and just, I think a good legislator in representing her people, said the other day when we were at a meeting here in Jonesboro, one of the reasons she was here in Jonesboro was to support John Cooper.
Well, she's a Democrat.
She's a Democrat. But again, there are multiple Democrats that have a more conservative voting record than John Cooper on multiple issues, not just taxes. You had Democrats voting for allowing the Bible to be in school. You had Democrats, and John votes against it. You had Democrats on other issues that John opposed, that Democrats were for, and John voted with the Democrats.
Can I ask you something?
Often.
We're talking with State Representative Dan Sullivan. He's obviously running against John Cooper. We know that this area is very, very Republican, very, very pro what the Republican Party platform says. I have known that his record he is so vulnerable on the issues that you just mentioned for a very long time. It's really black and white, the differences between you two, and that's what a primary is for. Are you worried, though, that because it is, in my opinion, it is such a slam dunk case, are you worried about some of the tactics and how I have been told that this might be the dirtiest, nastiest race for a primary that the Republican Party.
So you think strong arming is going to go on?
Well, I mean, not on this side of the line.
We're going to keep the campaign on the issues. Now, some people, and John may be among those, because we campaigned against each other before, and John used issues that were not issue related, but he brought up other things outside of that. And we, as a party committee, got together and sat down quietly with the party leadership to talk about how we're going to campaign, that we're going to keep it issue related, not about personalities. We're not going to try to destroy people. John got mad and left that meeting.
Oh, no. Are you serious?
Yeah, he walked up. Billy Sue Hoggard was our chairman then, and Billy Sue called the three candidates together. We sat down around a table to talk about how we were going to treat one another, that we'd stay issue. Anything on the issues is fair, but we're not going to destroy each other personally. We started talking about that. John got mad and got up and walked out. So will the campaign be one of destruction? I fully anticipate it. It's no different than what Cole Peck did in my race previously. Cole couldn't be honest. Cole couldn't stay on the issues. Cole has some issues in this election.
Yeah, he does.
And some questions to answer. But yeah, I think it's going to get tough, and I think it'll get a little bit dirty. And but I have no fear in that. And however this election turns out, God is always in control. He's teaching in my classroom. I'm reading his book. I'm staying faithful, trying to stay faithful as best I can to those principles that we were founded on and sustain our nation, that we will make no law that usurps God's authority.
Wow.
And I'm going to stand by that, and that can win or lose, not based upon what I feel and what I believe, but based upon those true principles. Yeah. So I hope it doesn't turn personal, but people are going to, when they are, just like some of the things we've said today, these are facts. It's not personal to John. I have no personal animus.
You can look it up. It's black and white
on
paper.
Yes, and you've got a statement. So the fact that you're playing his statements is his strong arm, not your strong arm.
Yeah, exactly. State Representative Dan Sullivan.
Thanks, Paul.
Great. Thank you so much. Look forward to this debate. We just want to get you guys the facts, make the decisions that you want. Again, Senator Cooper's on this program, or he's welcome to come on this program. We'll see. I don't think he will. I mean, just because I would have a lot of questions. We're going to be back here in just a moment.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know the government rarely gives the people a break. Big government politicians seem to always want more money from us, taxpayers. So if you want to support the work we're doing right here at Conduit News, bringing you the truth, then why not consider giving less money to the government that never stops overspending and overtaxing us by giving a tax-deductible donation to Conduit for Commerce, the premier organization in Arkansas that never stops promoting small business and limited government. Just go to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Support Our Cause. From there, you can decide if you want to donate monthly or one time. Give the government that's using your tax dollars to grow and grow less, and give the people fighting for your values more. Conduitforcommerce.org.
There's a time for bluster and there's a time for reason.
The Chinese Communist Party is rewarding or coercing American businesses, movie studios, universities, think tanks, scholars, journalists, and local, state, and federal officials.
And then, Chairman, you'll look out in the audience and you'll see multiple members of the governor's cabinet. We're also here to support you. You'll see multiple members of the state legislative assembly. They're here to support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them and they're going to help you, guarantee it. And Senator English, I saw you out there too. Thank you for being here as well.
As we speak, Beijing is employing a whole-of-government approach, using political, economic, and military tools as well as propaganda to advance its influence and benefit its interests in the United States.
Folks, as a taxpayer or business owner, I know.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
All right, welcome back, folks. Here we are again, kind of wrapping up the show. We have a meme of the day to get to. Let's do that. Here is your meme of the day. Oh, okay, we've got it up. Oh no, yeah, I want to get the other one. That's the one from the other day. So it is November the 14th, which means it's almost loader season for me. Now, what is loader? Well, loader is the acronym that stands for Lord of the Rings. Those of you who have been fans of the show for a long time, and you know a little bit about me personally, you know that I am a giant Lord of the Rings nerd. But I only watch Lord of the Rings, the fantastic Peter Jackson saga, only watch it in the month of December. Do what? Yeah, trilogy. Well, it's if you, I don't really watch the Hobbit ones. Yeah, it is a trilogy. Anyway, So I love them a lot. And the only reason it's like, well, they're not Christmas movies. No. I love the archetypes, but they always came out in December. You have to understand, when I was growing up, for 3 years, it was like the greatest movie. You know, you'd talk about it. I'd talk about it with my family because they loved Tolkien. They had read the books. And so every December, you know, for 3 years, you'd have Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King. And what was really cool is, you know, when you went to watch the Two Towers, Fellowship was already out on video. So you would watch Fellowship of the Ring and then immediately go in the theater to see Two Towers. Then the next year, you'd watch both of those movies, the extended cuts, and go in and see The Return of the King. And it just kind of ingrained in this, December is the day, or is the month. And it's kind of a family tradition now in my household. On Instagram, via Trump Triggers Liberals, Hillary Clinton, stop posting Epstein memes. And it's the King of Rohan. You have no power here. Anyway, we'll post it up on Twitter.